What is the most ideal way to be aware on the off chance that you have high cortisol? What is cortisol? Is the fundamental stress chemical. And assuming cortisol is excessively high, there's a ton of issues that could occur in your body. I've done a great deal of recordings on this. Allow me to go down the rundown to give you a few thoughts on what happens when your cortisol is excessively high. You get midsection fat. You lose protein in your thigh muscles and your bottom. Alright, so you lose your butt and your thighs. What won't do? Your knees. It will make your knees very agonizing and powerless, particularly while you're climbing steps. Your pulse could increment first, beginning with the systolic, that is the top number, and afterward winding up with the diastolic too. Sensitivities, asthma, skin breakout tension, low resistance to push individuals start truly getting on your nerves, particularly sluggish drivers. Aggravation. Why? Since cortisol is the fundamental mitigating, so in the event that you don't have it, you top off with irritation. It very well may be any place back, torment anything, glucose issues. You can even wind up turning into a diabetic on the off chance that there's something over the top. Cortisol. This is the reason when individuals get infused with prednisone, for instance, where they use prednisone apart some of the time, they can turn into a diabetic. Desires for carbs and breads. Alright, that sounds one way to realize that you dislike cortisol. Diminished charisma. Diminished potassium, since potassium goes through you. Furthermore, that is an issue since potassium is required for such countless things like energy, loosening up, you adjusting liquids. It's a principal electrolyte, and so forth and so on. You might will more often than not hold salts, and that is the reason you have edema too. Yet additionally, you will lose something that is engaged with making acids okay and hydrochloric corrosive, so you end up with stomach-related issues, since you need more corrosive. Furthermore, your blood pH can go favoring the soluble side, not the corrosive side. That a ton of times individuals think more basic, and that can give you an entirety series of unexpected issues. However, notwithstanding this large number of side effects, one of the most amazing ways of knowing you have high cortisol is the time you awake around evening time, commonly being around 2 is going a.m. It very well may be a tad later, like 2:30 a.m., yet somewhere in the range of 2 and 2:30 a.m. in the first part of the day. That is the point at which you become alert. Okay, presently, I had this issue for a really long time, and I didn't understand what it was. It was making me insane. It was torment, since I would get up in the center of night, and obviously I had propensity to fidget as well. However, I simply awaken and I would begin to think and investigate and take care of issues and stress for quite a long time. And afterward, when I at last nodded off, that was around 8 o'clock. So the example for high cortisol is you awaken at 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. and afterward you at long last can get to bed right around 8 a.m. when you should awaken. Right. For what reason is that since cortisol follows a circadian wave, and cortisol ordinarily should be the most reduced at 2 a.m. alright and the most elevated at 8 a.m. in the morning, so everything is somewhat in reverse. And so when you ought to be resting, you're generally conscious at the point when you ought to be alert, you're for the most part sleeping, and afterward, likewise, you could disapprove of early afternoon, close to suppose, 2 o'clock p.m., or on the other hand, 3 o'clock, or you simply need to sleep. So that is the example of high cortisol. You can likewise do a spit test. There's likewise a hair examination. I couldn't say whether they're actually getting it done presently. However, that is a great investigation. They check your hair since in such a case that you test your cortisol with your blood, you're just taking a gander at your cortisol at one time of the day, when contrasted with the hair, which provides you with the general normal of what's happening with cortisol, or a spit test, which is great, which you're estimating like at regular intervals through an entire time frame, 2. Figure out what's occurring on this example. So the inquiry is, what do you do about it? Assuming you have side effects of high cortisol, well, you got to find out what or who is causing your pressure. Follow through with something to further develop that. Alright? Strolling, long strolls in nature. Extremely significant. Actual work is a bit better than workout. Even workout is great. Yet, actual work to where you can get worn out, in light of the fact that it additionally doesn't simply exhaust you of the abundance energy. The apprehensive energy, however, it stands out enough to be noticed off issues. B1 fundamental wholesome yeast is one of the best sources and heaps of it. Nutrient D3 essential okay. And another motivation behind why vitamin D is great is on the grounds that cortisol will, in general, obstruct the capacity of vitamin D as well as the capacity to use vitamin D. Individuals with high cortisol generally are consistently lacking in vitamin D, and nutrient D is additionally really great for gloom. And vitamin D behaves like cortisol in the body with all the side impacts, so it's not really going to give you more cortisol, it'll assist you with controlling or, on the other hand, balance cortisol that you as of now have. Potassium, magnesium are the two minerals that are physiological sedatives. They're key minerals that assist with loosening up the sensory system. What's more, normally in the event that you have high cortisol, you're going to be lacking in both of these, so taking those, either in electrolyte or in food, is very significant. And afterward, apple juice, vinegar. Why? On the grounds that you have alkalosis. And we really want to ferment the body, so then you can begin retaining the minerals. Also, separating protein. Extremely significant. I have significantly more recordings on cortisol. I'll put the connections down beneath. Yet gratitude for observing. Hello. Before you go, on the off chance that you're benefiting from any of my substance, I would cherish to catch wind of your example of overcoming adversity. If it's not too much trouble, share it in the connection down underneath.